Okay, so let's get this started. This is going to be a video on how the Mosin-Nagant operates. I may make a video series called How Guns Work, starting with the Mosin. And just to briefly explain what this is about, it's not an important video, it's just for fun. One of the reasons I really am a gun nut is not so much that I actually like guns extremely as it is that I like machines. I like mechanical things. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be a gun, an automatic knife, a toilet seat, anything. I just like to know how things work, how things go together, how they function. So one of the things I tend to do is I tend to observe things and just cycle them over and over again. I mean, when I was like 6 or 7, I took the lid off of our toilet and figured out what all the parts inside that did and how they functioned, which unfortunately backfired on me because every single time the toilet would break in the squad bay or something, I'd have to be the one to fix it. Anyway, so what I tend to do with my guns is I also tend to disassemble them, cycle them over and over again to figure out which pieces do what and how it all works together. And if you guys are interested in that kind of stuff, then you may enjoy this video. Now, this is just about how the Mosin bolt operates. I can't tell you guys anything about how the trigger system works because I cannot actually disassemble the trigger on this rifle. I don't know how. So let's get started. I did a video yesterday on how to disassemble the Mosin-Nagant bolt, but you can watch that to kind of figure out how all this fits together a bit better. In general, though, you've got 4 main parts. You've got the bolt head, the bolt body, the cocking piece, and the guide rails. I don't actually know what this piece is called. I'm just calling it a guide rail because that's what it effectively does. So anyway, let's see. Well, first off, let me just tell you how this sits in the receiver and how it operates. It fits into the receiver with the tolerances so it can't go anywhere, but what actually happens to hold this inside the receiver is this rail drops on top of your sear. The lighting here is, I can't see the viewfinder of the camera, so I don't know if you guys have good lighting or not. I'm sorry, but that's how my setup works with my favorite Auto Russian hat. That's the top of your sear right there. And as you can see when you, there it is. And as you can see when you pull the trigger, it drops down. So when you feed this into the receiver, that rail sits on top and rides on top of the sear. And when you pull it all the way back, it catches in that notch right there, stopping the bolt from being removed from the rifle. Unless, of course, you pull down the trigger to lower the sear and free this. Now, when this is inserted into the rifle, I don't know how other bolt actions work. This is the only bolt action I've examined, so I don't know if this is just the Mosin theory of operations or if all bolt actions do this. But the way this is designed is all the individual pieces rotate around each other. In other words, they're integrated right now. They're all locked together. But when inserted into the rifle, they start sliding around each other, disengaging from each other, allowing you to set this up for firing. So when we load this in, every time you turn it down, you have now actually, I'm sorry, I'm just going back and forth here because I don't know where to start. Before I get into that, this is how the bolt cocks. Right now it is in the cocked position. That notch right there is what holds it in the cocked position. And then when you decock it, it's a very heavy spring, by the way. It's about 10 kilos to 22 pounds, I think, is the conversion. When you turn the bolt down, what's happened is that this is disengaged from the bolt body, and then this rotates under it until it is in line with that notch, at which point it is no longer held by that notch, but is instead held back with this lug here by the sear. So at that point, the only thing stopping this from going forward is the sear blocking that lug, and then when you lower the sear, this pops forward. So how this operates is right now the weapon is not ready for firing. You turn it down, all the pieces just shifted around each other, and at this point the bolt, the cocking piece, is held back by the sear. So how this works is you've got a cam surface right there. You can see it's sloped, and this is sloped. So when you turn down the bolt, it's actually forced forward. Now the cocking piece remains static. This never moves. It stays in one position until it's fired. It doesn't rotate or anything. But when you rotate this, it's cammed forward and therefore pushed forward like that. Now, when it's pushed forward, what's happening is the bolt body and the bolt head and this rail are all pushed forward away from the cocking piece, which itself remains static. And when that happens, this lug is pulled all the way back out of that slot, and the entire bolt body is then disengaged from the cocking piece. Now I'm going to try and demonstrate this on camera. Like I said, it's a very heavy spring, so I may not be able to do this on camera, but I'm just going to try and set this up so you guys can see what it looks like before firing. So I'm just going to pull the cocking piece all the way back and rotate this to the side. Now before I do that, let me briefly remember how it's supposed to go, to the right or to the left. Let's see. Just hold up a second. To the right. Okay. I'm just going to try and do this on camera. Actually, just a sec again. I really suck with spatial dimensions, so it's kind of a bitch for me to figure out. Because last time I did this, I ended up moving it to the wrong side, so I'm just trying to remember now if it's to the right or to the left. So that will be to the left. Okay, so this is going to be pulled back and turned on this side, not that side. So let me try and do this. There we go. Alright. I've decocked it here and pulled out the guide rails. Now, at this point, this is exactly what the bolt looks like when it's ready for firing. I mean, here you can see, just so you can see it's vertical. That's the top of the cocking piece. That's the bottom of the lug. There's the guide rail. It is now disengaged from the cocking piece, and the bolt is also pushed forward and locked inside the rifle, and the bolt head. So, actually, what's about to happen here now is, because this is under spring pressure, it just fired, technically. I'm going to try and pull this back just long enough for you guys to see what's going on, but like I showed you before, it's sitting in that notch, right? When you disengage it, what happens is the pressure from the spring is transferred from being held on the notch to being blocked by the sear, which I just showed you guys, but just show you again. That square right there is what is in front of this lug and stopping the cocking piece from going forward. So what it actually looks like is like this. At least I'm going to try and do this. That's what it looks like right before it's ready to fire. And then you just pull the trigger, sear drops down out of the way, spring pressure pulls it forward, and boom. So, my God, that hurts my fingers when I keep doing this over and over again. So, I'm just going to put this back together and show you one last thing, is how it actually locks into the bolt. Oh, and of course, when you flip this back up, what happens is it cams back in. I'm going to actually show you guys in the rifle, but it's going to cam back in and therefore push this back again and recock it manually. The guide rails are going to slide back around under, over that, and then it's going to snap back forward and lock back into place. But I need to do that manually, so give me a sec here. Okay, got it. Alright, so this goes back into the rifle. Last thing I want to show you, actually second to last thing, is just how it locks to the bolt itself. That is your main locking lug. And in the receiver right up top, you've got a notch where it fits into. So when you turn it down, the bolt head, no, this is on the bolt head, not the bolt body. So at this point, the bolt head will disengage from the bolt body, like so. You can see it just slid out of that locking notch. And now it is locked up top, while this is free to rotate around. The guide rail is now on the side, which in turn is disengaged from the cocking piece. And of course, if you dry fire, when you flip this back around, this is going to cam back and push the cocking piece back and recock. Just snap back over it. So that's it. Alright, I hope that was entertaining. If it wasn't, I'm sorry, but this geekiness is just not your cup of tea. And the last thing I can show you before ending this video is, since I did that video on how to disassemble the bolt, I figure I may as well just quickly show you how you can disassemble your magazine. That's it. All you do is you compress it, and you can lift it right out. There's a bar inside your magazine that this notch fits into. So, again, thank you for watching. I hope that was enjoyable, and I may make more of these in the future as I toy around with various guns and figure out how they work, because I'm just too lazy and nerdy to buy myself a tech manual. Take care.